Hi everyone, Betsy Kreider here with Be Creative Stamping. I wanted to hop on live. I didn't give any warning to this, so hopefully some people can catch it. Um, I think the way my life is going now is that this is just going to be a video that I can throw in here whenever I get the chance to throw it in. It's not a very good business model, but I'm trying my best here to do that. I'm going to jump on Facebook here quickly just to make sure that I am live. So give me a second here. That way also too I can see your comments whenever they come in. So if you're joining me, please say hello. Let me know you're here as I try to get started here. My goal is to, let me see here. So it's still going. Looks like it's going on Facebook now. Get that going here. Sorry, folks. I'm just getting in here and seeing if everybody's going to be able to join me. Give it a couple minutes. See if this was I've been trying to do this since Friday. Today is what? Tuesday? And I've been trying to do this since Friday, and I'm just now getting this done. So my apologies. I'm trying to do it on a regular basis. I need people to keep me accountable to what I'm doing. Let me see here and get this going. That way I can see comments as they're coming in. There we go. Okay. So it is very last minute. It is after 9 o'clock on Tuesday evening. I'm hoping that some people will be able to sign on and join me this evening. But if you can't and you're watching this after the fact, that's great too. I just really appreciate you taking the time to watch. Again, I'm Betsy Kreider with Be Creative Stamping, and I'm here to show you my July cards that we made this month in July. My goal was to do it last month. It did not happen. I can kind of give you a little sneak peek of those cards that we did last month, even though we didn't really get together via Zoom to do this, or via Facebook here for me to show you. But I can show you what May's were. Really try to help hold me accountable. Okay, I'm going to ask all of you guys to help me hold me accountable. This is out of my comfort zone. It's not something that I do on a regular basis. So my goal is that every month go live at some point in the month and show you my club cards. Club was a little late this month because of the holiday. Last month was just chaotic with the incentive trip and some personal issues going on. So I never got the May one in, or June one in. And then July, so I'm doing it tonight. So maybe I need to change my name to like the late night stamper or something like that, because it's always seems like I'm never going to be able to do this at like a regular time. If you're watching, please give me a shout out, say hello, let me know you're watching. But I'm going to jump in and we're just going to start doing some cards. So let me change views here for a second. Let me get to the right view. There we go. How about that one? So there is, I'm going to start with our cards for July, but let me show you June's quickly, just so you can get an idea of what we did in June. So in June, we made this pretty sympathy card. I found the idea online. I apologize. I don't know who to give credit to on this one. I had seen it done. We did a lot of sponging with some pretty peacock. We did some splatter with some craft ink and some water. And this is the daisy. The Fresh is a daisy die that actually has 3 die cuts to it to give it that nice layered look. It's a very, very pretty card. And then this is a card that I cased off of my friend Megan Hurst, who is an amazing demonstrator. She had done this at one of her events, and I thought, oh, I need to do that. That's just such a nice, pretty, simple card to recreate. And again, it used that Fresh as a Daisy background and some of the new Moody Mauve paper. So that was June's club cards. But I'm going to show you tonight how to do July's club cards, okay? July club cards, we're doing a little bit of... I thought these were really cute because this was a great summary kind of card. So here's the card we're making for July with the lemons. Isn't that pretty? It just was very summary to me. I got this idea from Wendy Steinbeck. Wendy Steinbeck is where I cased this idea from. I had seen it online and just fell in love with it. So we made this card, and then we also made a Christmas card, which I cased off of Susan Campfield, but I'm going to show you this one first, and we're going to get started making this card. So what we need in order to do this card is I had some Daffodil Delight card base. I had obviously our envelope. I had a piece that is a quarter sheet of paper. It is 5.25 by 4.25. We're going to use that for most of our stamping and die cutting. I have 2 pieces of basic black, and what I've done is I did use a corner rounder to round all the corners on the daffodil, but then I rounded the corners also just on the bottoms of my 2 basic black pieces. And then I have 2 pieces of basic white that are going to be in the on the front, and I'm going to corner round those on the bottom. Now I'm using an older style corner rounder. These are the old, they used to call these the whale handle, because they kind of look like a whale's tail. Whale handle punches, and I just put that in the inside like that and squeeze, and then that's going to round the corners. We don't have a current corner rounder, so I'm just using this older style one. Corner rounders are one of those punches that you kind of always keep in your stash. It's one of those you always kind of go back to and use again, a corner rounder. Okay, so I've corner rounded those, and what I want to do is I want to get started stamping. Okay, so I'm going to bring in this piece because this is what I'm going to stamp with. And the first thing I want to do is bring in my Daffodil Delight, and I'm going to bring in the stamps. Now the stamps that I'm using are the Sweet Citrus stamp set. And the Sweet Citrus stamp set is, this is one stamp and this is a second stamp. So this one fills in these gaps in this one. All right, so it's like a 2-step stamping. You stamp the outlines and then you stamp the insides. Now I've seen this done where people are making limes, they're doing coconuts with it, they're doing grapefruits with it. So there's a lot of different things you can do. It's not just lemons or oranges. So kind of think out of the box. So that's the stamp set we're using. And I already have these stamps ready to go. So there's my outlines, and then there's my insides. So I'm going to do the outline here first. So I'm going to go ahead. Now I only want 3. I'm just using these 3 images. So I don't care about this larger lemon. I want to make sure that I'm inking just these 3. So I'm going to ink those here. And then I'm going to stamp that kind of off to the side a little bit. And I want to bring in my mat. I almost forgot. Bring in your stamping mat, your Pierce mat, because that will help you get a better image, especially with photopolymer. So I'm going to ink that and then stamp that there. Then what I want to do is ink the insides with the same color, Daffodil Delight. And I can see how that's going to line up right in there. I need my eyeglasses here to see. And that's going to line right inside those images. So I just kind of look at the half circles, see where things are going to go, and then give it a nice stamp like that. And there are my lemons. Easy, right? So I want to stamp those. And I'm going to bring those back in a little bit here because actually, let me show you that quickly. I'm going to go into the inside. So this is going to be my inside piece. And I want to show you a little trick. I wanted to have an orange. I always like my insides of my envelopes to kind of match, right? So I want to stamp this inside here. But I only wanted one of the lemons. So I'm going to put a piece of scrap paper over top of my mat, only so I don't get ink everywhere. So I don't like ink on my mat, so I just use a little piece of scrap paper there. And what I want to do in this case is I only want to ink that one circle. So I might bring my cleaner in, give this a good little scrub real quick. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the stamp and kind of come in from an angle on the corner of the ink pad just to ink that one image. And I don't know if you can see it, but the stamp actually changes color as you're stamping. You can kind of see the ink hit that stamp. And I'm going to add that right, actually I got a little bit of ink there. I'm going to add that right here. Okay. Then I'm going to do the same thing with this stamp. I only want this one. So I'm going to come in at an angle and just ink that one stamp. Even though it's a stamp of 3, I'm only inking the one. And then I'm going to stamp that like that. So there's my one for the inside. So I am done, I think, with those. So I'm going to put this away. And I am going to bring in, let me get rid of this. Actually, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and stamp my leaves. So on this front piece, we also needed to have 2 leaves. So I'm using my old olive. And I'm going to stamp leaf number 1 and then leaf number 2, right? And that's what I need for old olive. So I can get rid of that. And then using the other stamp sets I'm using today, I'm using Queen Bee. Now this is no longer in the catalog, but it is available. So this is available on your on the online store. So it is an online exclusive item that you can get online. It's not in the catalog anymore, but it is still available, Queen Bee. And then Quiet Meadow. Really what I'm using from Queen Bee is just this little bee guy right here. Okay. And then from Quiet Meadow, I'm using this spackle, this splatter look stamp. Okay. So those are the 2 other stamp sets I'm using. And I need to stamp this little bee. So I'm going to use some Memento ink. And I'm going to stamp him right there. Okay. So that's my stamping that I want to do for making this card. Now, I also have, let me see here. I also am using the dies that go with the lemon, right? So there are my leaves. Okay. There's actually 2 of them, which makes it nice so that I don't have to run it through twice. I can do one pass. And then the lemons or the citrus, you have one die that's going to fit all of that. So that one die will cut all of that out for you like that. And then I'm also using the dies from the bee, the Queen Bee, and I'm using 2 of the flowers, and then I'm using my bee to die cut my bee. So I'm going to run all of that through my die cutting machine. And what I'm going to get, let me just make sure I put these back on. I don't know about you, but recently I have been having this really bad habit of losing dies because I'm not putting them back on right away. So I'm losing my dies. So I'm trying to be better about putting them back whenever I get them, take them off. So here are all the pieces that I'm getting. I'm going to get the 2 leaves, those 2 little flowers, my 3 lemon pieces, and then my bee. So here's what I have to be able to start making my card. So I'm going to put that aside because I've already done that die cutting. But what I want to do is I want to go ahead and start to stamp my front. So this was my inside. So this is going to be my front. And I'm also using from the Queen Bee set. I lied. I'm using this long art image right here. I'm using that long art, and I'm also using this little word, this like kind of artsy word set. Okay. All right. So I'm going to ink this up here. Let me get rid of this. And if you're watching with me tonight, give me a shout out. I know it's a Tuesday night, trying to get people to kind of join me tonight after 9 o'clock at night. It's a little late, so I think people are probably going to be watching me after the fact. But that is okay too, because I can say I did my video and I posted it and it's done. So I feel better about it now that I'm getting it done. What I want to do here is I'm going to stamp this. What I try to do is line the stamp up along the bottom of my cardstock so that I kind of get an idea that it's relatively straight. And then I just pick it up and come up about halfway, and then I stamp. Now that is not straight. It's kind of going at an angle, but it doesn't matter because most of it's going to be covered up anyway. Once we put our lemons and our leaves and everything on, you're not going to be able to see this one side. So don't worry about whether or not it's even or not. And I'm going to come in and I'm going to add this again, about a half an inch below it, 1/4 of an inch, something like that. I'm just going to add another row of that. So that is good. Then I want to add my words. So I'm going to use this set here. And I'm going to add some words here. And then I'm going to ink that again, and I'm going to add words down here. And since I'm stamping, I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit on the inside right there. And I'm going to do a little bit on the corner of my envelope there. Okay. Kind of getting it all kind of together and looking nice. All right. Let's see here. My accountability partner just sent me a message that says, you better be recording now. Obviously, she's not on Facebook, or she'd see that I'm live right now, and she could be watching me live instead of messaging and asking me if I were live. So, but thank you to my accountability partner for keeping me accountable for going live tonight. That was my goal. All right, so I'm using this splatter here, and I'm going to add a little bit. I'm going to do the inside. I'm going to add a little bit to both the top and the bottom of my inside. I'm going to do a little bit maybe on my envelope, okay? And then I'm going to bring in my front piece, and I'm going to put a little bit there, okay? Just adding a little bit of splatter. Now, I'm going to clean this splatter up a little bit. I'm going to get that black off of there, and I'm going to use this again. But this time I'm going to use it on my card base. So I'm going to bring the card base in. Give this a fold. Use my foam folder right there. And then I'm going to bring in that daffodil ink again. And I'm going to use that splatter again with the daffodil, but this time I'm going all around the outside edge of my card base to give it just a little bit of splatter around the edge. So I'm going to, one more, and we're good. Just like that. See that? Just giving a little bit of color all around the edge. So that takes care of that. The next thing I want to do, my card front is pretty much ready to go, and I'm ready to put this on here, right? So it would go on a piece of black, and it would go on here. But I found that what I liked, and the card that I had seen that Wendy had done, was embossed. It had a white embossing. So I'm going to show you this one here, and hopefully you can see it. There you go. You see that embossing in the background? It just kind of gave it a little bit more detail, and it just made it a little prettier to have that embossing on the white. So you want to stamp first, and then you want to emboss. And the embossing folder that I used is this one. Now it is part of the new, this is also an online exclusive item. This is part of, I think they're called like Basic Essentials or something like that for the you get 3 embossing folders in one pack. So it's $30. You get all 3 embossing folders. So the one I just showed you is kind of like a textured line art. Okay. Here is the second one. It's got like this raised polka dot. It's very cute. And then the third one is like almost like a silver dollar, you know, or it's almost like a seashell-y, what do you want to call that? A floral pattern is the other one. Okay. So those 3 embossing folders. So that's what I used on this one. So I did this, and I went ahead and did that ahead of time, where I just went ahead and embossed that. So I'm going to put this aside, and this one is embossed and ready to go for us. So I'm going to put these 2 together. Okay. And put this on my card front. And that's going to go right here. And I'm just putting that flat. If you're watching and joining me tonight and was able to sign in, just give me a shout out. Let me know you're here. Sorry again for coming on late and not giving any warning that I'm doing it, but I'm flying by the seat of my pants here, folks. And I'm just kind of making it up as I go. And then I'm going to go ahead. Life doesn't seem to allow me to kind of have a set schedule anymore. So I have to kind of fit in what I can when I can. But I'm just hoping that you'll come back and watch later if you missed it the first time when it was live and you're watching the recording. Just post me a little note and let me know what you think of these cards. I just love them. All right, so there is my inside, and here is my front, and I'm going to get ready now to build my front. Okay, so what I want to do is kind of build my pieces where they're going to go. And sometimes it helps to do this, is to kind of fill them out. Hi, Carol. Nice to have you with us. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you like it. I saw it online and I fell in love with it. I thought it's such a pretty card. It's just so fresh and refreshing looking. So I'm just kind of building my card to see where I want things to go. And then I can kind of start to put it together. So this one is going to be flat. Okay. I'm going to put that here. Right. And then this guy's coming in off to the side. So I'm going to add a little glue and put that half a lemon there. And then the lemon wedge that I have, I'm going to go ahead and use some dimensionals on that and pop that up right here. Now I'm going to put these leaves kind of like down, tuck it down in behind. I use a little bit of liquid glue. I'm just kind of lifting that up and tucking that down. This one I actually cut in half because I wanted to give the leaves a little bit more of a spaced out look so that they weren't like so close together. So I'm just adding a little bit of glue. I have way more than what I need there, so I'm just picking it up with the other leaf, picking that up and kind of tucking that there. And then I'll tuck the other one down this side so that they're not quite as close together. That leaves me a little bit of room to kind of add that flower in between. Everybody see that okay? There you go. And then this flower up here. So I'm going to use some mini dimensionals on those. And again, these were the club cards we made together. I have 3 clubs. I have one in Lewistown. I have one in Mifflintown at the local IHOP. The one in Lewistown I hold at Shade Mountain Naturals. A friend of mine owns it, and she has a classroom upstairs, which is excellent. She allows us to use that classroom. So I have a Lewistown club that gets together. I have a Juniata County club that meets at the IHOP in Mifflintown. And then I have a group that meets in State College. And it's usually typically always the first week of the month. It's supposed to be the first Monday, first Tuesday, first Wednesday. We moved it a little bit this month because of the holiday in July. So we actually met the second week in July. Look at that card. Isn't that cute? Oh my gosh, I just love it. Now, if you got the lemons, one of the things that also comes in this lemon suite or lemon bundle is the embossing folder. So you can see how there's the different citrus pieces that are in there. So I wanted to show you the difference, and I'm hoping you can really see this on screen. The difference between the not embossed. So here it is not embossed. And here it is embossed. Can you see the difference between those lemons? Isn't that amazing? So the folder really gives you detail. We didn't do the embossing in club. I probably should have had them do that, but we just kind of, there was a lot of steps in this already. So we didn't actually do the embossing, but look at the detail that you get when you use the embossing folder on top of that. So it's something to definitely consider. When you're looking at this lemon set, it's got some really cute details to it. Now, the last thing I added here was the greeting, and that's from that set. You could choose either enjoying the sweeter things in life, having a zesty birthday, or sending you a big squeeze. And I like that one because then you could use it for just about anything. So what I did was I went ahead and I heat embossed this with some white embossing powder. And I'm just going to, there's no dies to cut out the greeting. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fussy cut this out. And this is one of these areas where it's like you don't really want to think about it too much. And you notice that when I'm fussy cutting, my scissors aren't moving, but the paper is. And that's the key to fussy cutting, is to keep your scissors straight and just allow your paper to kind of do the work. And I'm gonna just kind of fussy cut right around that. And there is my greeting for the front. Just like that. Easy, right? Don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. Just do it. So I'm going to add that. I'm going to add a couple dimensionals here. And there is going to be my first card. You could easily add like some Wink of Stella to the lemons to give them a little bit of shine if you wanted to. And there are my two cards. Now with this one, I did add some glossy, where are they? I added some of the glossy dots, and they have a yellow, like a daffodil yellow in there, daffodil. So I'm going to go ahead and add one of those to the inside of that flower. I don't think I have any other mini ones, so this will be a rather big one, but that's okay. It'll be fine. It's a handmade card. I can do whatever I want, right? There we go. So there is my finished card. What do you think? You like the lemons? Isn't that cute? With your decorated inside. Oh, I did add the bee on my envelope, so just to kind of have it all tie together. So I went ahead and added the bee here. And then I did use my dark daffodil blend just to color in the little flower center and then to color in his little butt and give him some yellow shading on the bee. Look at that. Isn't that cute? Do you like it? I hope so. All right, so there is card number one. Super fast, super easy. Let me clean this up here just a little bit, and let me bring in the Christmas card that I want to show you. Christmas card was very easy as well. I got a really cute idea from Susan Champfield on a card using some of the new paper that is available. So let me clean this up here for a second and get that out of my way. And let me bring in the paper. Okay, so the first thing I want to show you is the paper that goes with this. This is one of the new, excuse me. Oh, thanks, Carol. I'm so glad you liked it. I'm so glad you like the lemons. The lemons are super cute. That just is very summery and to me, and I just love that. So I'm so glad you're watching. This is part of the new online exclusives that Stampin' Up's offering, the new online exclusives, and it's called the One Horse Open Sleigh 6x6 Designer Series paper. And let me just show you what this paper looks like because I fell in love with it. Now, it had sold out, but as of this evening, I just looked maybe about a half an hour ago, and it is in stock. But I would not wait. If this is something you are interested in, I would not wait. This 6x6 paper is gorgeous. So here's one of your designs of the 6x6. So there's one. They're all of these winter scenes. By the way, the backs are all like kind of neutrals. The fronts are really what sell this card, so I'm not really showing you the backs. The backs are all like a neutral. Here is one with this little tiny deer. Oh my gosh, look at his ears. Are they not adorable? And the card I'm making tonight is actually going to use this paper. But I love how it's just got this coral, like pinky shade up here, but it's got a winter scene. So this paper is really more about a winter scene. It doesn't necessarily scream Christmas. It just screams winter to me. So you could make a guy's birthday card or a winter thinking of you or any kind of like a winter scene. It doesn't necessarily have to be a Christmas card. Here's another one of my favorites. I love that with the pool party colors. Okay. This one, it was a little different to me. It wasn't one of my favorites, but I'm learning to like it more and more, which is this one. It's kind of looking down into the trees. It's a little optical illusion to me. It kind of freaks me out a little bit, like woo, woo, woo. It kind of throws my eyes off a little bit. But I did a card. A friend of mine at club did this card. Janet did this card at club. And it was perfect for the card that we're doing because it kind of broke it up a little bit. And it really made you concentrate on those footprints a little bit more. So it turned out to be a really super cute card when she used it. There's this wooded scene here. Aren't these pretty? Give me a shout out if you're joining me tonight. I'm so glad you made it. Again, apologies that it's kind of late and I didn't give any warning. I just jumped on it and I did it. All right, this one I'm not real sure about. This one is a little bit different. I'm not sure about the yellow in there. I haven't played with this one yet. It's probably my least favorite of the group. Let me put it this way. Out of all the papers, this is the one I probably am not as big of a fan of, but all the other papers I absolutely love. Hey, Ann. Hey, Jen. So glad you're joining me tonight. I did it. I finally made it live. I've only been set up since Friday to do this, but I finally did it. Thanks, friends, for joining me. This one is another one with the gate. So one of the online exclusives, and here's the stamp set. I can show you that quickly as we're going through these papers. This is the stamp set that kind of coordinates with it, the horse and sleigh. And a lot of people that I've been seeing online are using this sleigh set here with this particular designer series paper as they show the sleigh going across it. So that's really a cute idea with this one. Here's another one of the papers, again, in that pool party, gray pool party Lost Lagoon kind of tones. I really like that. Here's another animal one that is so cute. Look at this fox. Look how adorable that is. It's such like a watercolor-y look. It doesn't, there's some little leaves, like some fall color leaves still hanging on those trees. Isn't that pretty? Here's another one. I keep saying this is my favorite or that is my favorite. Here's another one with the cabin. Pretty, right? Are you liking it? Are you liking what you see? Have you gotten this paper yet? If you have not, I highly recommend it. And like I said, it is available online right now. No guarantees how long it will stay in stock. When it's an online exclusive, there's no guarantees on how long it'll stay available. So this is the new one horse sleigh designer series paper. So I'm going to use one of these images. I'm going to use, let me grab mine here for a second. I'll show you the card here in a second. But here's the one I'm going to use, the one with the little deer. Okay, so let me show you the card and how this works. All right, so there is a, here's the card. Okay, and this is how it opens. It uses pretty much the whole piece of designer series paper to make this full completed scene. This is kind of how it opens. But when it's sitting, it makes a whole open scene. So when you're giving it to someone, it's kind of like they can see this whole completed scene in front of them. So it's a great way of using the designer series paper without losing so much of it, right? So we always have designer series paper where it's like, well, I only want a little bit, but then I end up losing or not using all of it. So here's this one. And then when it opens up. Isn't that pretty? Isn't that a great idea? So I got this idea from Susan Campfield. Here's the one I did with like a pool party background. So in club, I gave everybody a choice of what designer series paper they wanted to use. And then I also gave them a choice of what card base to use that would match, because everybody's card bases are everybody's papers were slightly different. So I gave them choice on their card base as well. What do you think? Are you loving it? And then there's the one with the cabin. Isn't that pretty? It's so pretty. So we're going to make this card tonight, but we're going to do it with this one. So the first thing, before I start cutting here, I need your opinion. So you tell me which one you like, and we'll kind of go with it, right? Love that one, right? So here's the choices. Would you like to see this on the copper clay? So let me show you that for a second. That's why I've not cut mine, because I didn't want to lose the scene. I agree, Carol, right? So here, I'm so glad you're here then, because you're going to love this, because this is going to show you how to use pretty much this entire piece, less 1/3 of a piece. That's it. So do you like it with the copper clay, or do you like it with early espresso? Okay. Or do you like it with gray granite? So you guys vote and tell me which one you like. And while you guys are voting, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to cut this. Okay. So I'm going to bring in my paper trimmer. All right. So here's my paper trimmer. And what I want to do now, depending on the paper that you're using, you might want to cut off at the top or the bottom or a little bit of both, right? So like the fox in club, somebody used it and they cut a little bit off the top and a little bit off the bottom. So decide which way you want to do. But what you want to do is you want to get this piece to 5 1/4. So right now it's 6 inches, right? So this is 6 inches. I want to get this to 5 1/4. Okay. All right. I want to get this to, yeah, 5 1/4. I'm just looking at my measurements to double check. I don't want to cut it and then cut it wrong. I'm going to go 5 1/4, and I'm going to take off 3/4 of an inch on this bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that off. And that's the only piece that I'm not using. The rest of this I'm all going to use. Okay. So the first measurement that I want to cut to is 3 1/2. Now in club, what I wanted to do in club, what I gave everybody was this little guy, because a lot of people are really unsure about where your 3/8 or your eighths or your 16ths are. And sometimes it can be a little confusing. So we're going to be doing one of these at 3/8, and I'm going to show you a little trick here in a second. So what I want to do is 3 1/2 is my first cut. So I'm coming in from this side because I want this piece to be 3 1/2. So I'm going to go to 3 1/2, and I'm going to cut here, which is going to be right on the side of his little ear. So that is going to be my front panel, 3 1/2. Then what I want to do is I want to cut a 3/8 inch strip, 3/8 inch. So what I want to do here is I'm going to find my half and then go backwards one spot. Does that make sense? So find your half and then go back just 3/8. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to find my half, and I'm going backwards to a 3/8 inch mark. Right? So there's my 3/8. You just want to watch when you're cutting this, because you don't really have a lot to kind of hold your paper against. I try to watch this little line down here to make sure that it's even, to make sure that it's not like kind of like this, right? Where I'm cockeyed off the paper, right? So kind of watch it a little bit. So I find the half and then go back one to get the 3/8. And if my bestie, my accountability partner, best friend is watching, she will tell you that I am terrible with eighths. It's taken me a long time to appreciate the eighths. For the longest time, I wouldn't do anything that had an eight, like a 3/8 or a 1/8, or I just would throw a fit if she gave me a card design that I had to cut eighths, because guaranteed I would mess it up. But there is my 3/8 inch piece. So I have a 3 1/2, I have a 3/8, and that's going to leave me with a 2 1/8 inch piece. So those are my 3 pieces that I'm going to use for my card. Now you want to keep those in order, and I'm going to show you a reason here in a second as to why you want to do that, where you want to keep them in a certain order, because trust me when I tell you that you can easily mess it up. Okay. Let me see here. I'm looking at the comments to see what color you guys went with. I think I saw 2 people for early espresso. So I think I'm going to go with the espresso. I saw 2 espresso. Yeah, I think I saw 2 espressos. So I'm going to go with espresso on this one. Okay. No surprise there, because anybody that would tell you is brown's like one of my favorite colors. So typically I would normally go with an espresso anyway, because this is actually the color of my couch, is how much I love this color. So this is just an 8 1/2 by 5 1/2 piece. And what I want to do is I want to score. So when you're looking at your cutter, remember that I have an older score in front of me. My newer score is in my bag. So this is an older score, but it's the same concept, is that you've got a dark one and a light one. The light one is your score. The dark one is your cutter, right? So I want to move my cutter out of the way, and I'm going to come in and I am going to score at 1 7/8. Okay. So 1 7/8 is going to like the 1 inch mark or the inch mark, and then coming back 1, right? So I'm going to go to 2 in this case, because I want 1 7/8, go to 2 and then come back 1. All right, to the 3/8 inch. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to score that at 1 7/8. And then I'm going to score again at 4 1/4. 4 1/4 and score again. Okay, so let me get rid of that. All right. And when I score that, it's going to go ahead and fold in half. So at the 4 1/4, I'm going to fold that in half. And then the one that was scored at 1 7/8, that's going to come backwards. Now it does not match up the whole way to the edge. That's okay. That's on purpose. Okay. Hey, Susie, so glad you're here. I'm so glad you were able to catch me live. It was so spur of the I've been trying since Friday, Susie. I've been trying since Friday to go live. So, but I finally just said, I got to get this done. So here I am. We're just winging it, girlfriend. We're just winging it. All right. So the reason that this was cut specifically, and Susan Campfield did this kind of like on a reason, because specifically for this piece, she wanted to be able to capture this deer on the front, which I thought was genius, so that whenever I layer that on my card front, I'm going to have a nice even border the whole way around. So what I want to do is I want to put this on the card front, but I'm only adhering it to this flap, right? So I'm going to add some adhesive to that flap. And then this piece is going to get centered on the front, and I'm centering it with it closed so that I can see the border the whole way around and make sure it's even. And there's my card front. Okay. Then what I want to do is I want to open this up. Okay. And the 3/8 inch piece is going to go right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to center that between the end of this one and the score line on the inside. So I'm just going to add a little bit of liquid glue. I think this is one of my favorite papers. I'm not, this one I've already bought 3 packs of, and I could see myself buying multiples of this, because once you get this cutting down, you could easily reproduce this card with just about any of these pieces. And it's a super fast card. So you can kind of see that there. I'm just centering it, kind of lining it up. Nice thing about the liquid glue is it gives me that minute or a second or two to get it lined up. Okay. Then I'm going to bring in this piece, which is going to go here on the opposite side of the score. Now, I also have a piece of basic white, and this basic white is cut to 1 3/4 by 5 1/4. 1 3/4 by 5 1/4. But what I want to do before I adhere this down, what I want to do is just make sure that when I close this, I'm not going to see any of that white peeking out. So I want to make sure that when I adhere it down, I'm not going to see any of that white peeking out. I want to truly kind of hide it back there. So I'm going to put this one in first. All right, get that guy in there. Again, I'm just kind of watching my spacing between all of those to create that scene. All right, and then this guy's going to come in. I'm going to put that beside it. But before I really adhere that down, again, I'm going to close that up. I'm going to hold it up to me a little bit. Before I close that up, I'm going to shift that up just a little bit more, just so I don't see it under my background. There you go. Look. And there's my card. How easy was that, right? And you get to see the whole piece of designer series paper on one card. You didn't waste, all we wasted was this little piece. And depending on what you're doing, you could easily use that for something else. It's like a 3/4 inch piece. You could use that for anything. But here is your card. Now, for the greetings, what I'm using are these new nested essential dies. Nested essential dies. I saw a really cute one the other day where they were using these two, which I had not thought about. They used these two and they did this one in vellum, and then they had this one over top of it, and it had like flowers stamped on it, and it gave me a really good idea for my upcoming retreat in September, because it's flower themed. And I thought, oh, that would make a really cute tag to put on some gifts that I'm giving out by having that vellum as the layer underneath it. So I thought these were really cute. So the nested essentials, I have this one that I've already die cut, and then I've got this little tiny banner here. So those are the 2 pieces that I'm using for my greetings on the front. Whenever I gave my club folks choice in designer series paper, and I gave them choice for the card base, I also gave them choice in ink, because depending on what they were doing, they might have to choose it. So like if I was doing, like for this card with the cabin, I used the copper clay, so we used copper clay ink, versus this card where we use more of a basic gray to kind of go with those tones. So you can choose and mix it up and match it up the way you want to. I'm going to go ahead and go with the Early Espresso ink since we are doing an Early Espresso here. And the card, I'm going to go ahead and use Wishing You a Season of Cheer. And that's from this stamp set again. Wishing you a season of cheer. You could do Sending Warmth Your Way. So if you didn't want it to be a Christmas card, you could just say Sending Warmth Your Way, thinking of you, anything that you wanted to say. I'm going to go ahead and use the Season of Cheer. And I'm going to stamp that guy here. Line that up. I probably should have a mat underneath it, but I think line art, I think I can do pretty well with line art, but solid images like those lemons, you definitely want to make sure you have a mat underneath you. It'll make a big difference. And then I'm going to use Joyful here on this little guy. And there is my Joyful. Okay. So there's my greetings. I'm going to leave that ink pad out here for a second. And I'm going to use some dimensionals on these. So I'm going to do 2 here. And I'll do 3 on this one. All right. So this little Joyful. Now, depending on the paper that you're choosing, you might need to move this around a little bit, like maybe come down a little bit, depending on the image that you're doing. It might not work. Like, so for this one, oops, shooting it all over the place. For this one, I came down because I didn't want to cover up the tops of my trees. So I brought it down a little bit more. Whereas this one is my, oh, everything sticks to me here. As this one, I'm going to go maybe about, I could probably bring it up here towards the top. And there is my Joyful. And then my greeting for the center, what I did was I just kind of, the points of this, I tried to center into that area there. And again, depending on what you have on your image of your paper, depends on where you're going to go with this. I'm going to come down here towards the bottom. And there is my card. Joyful, Season of Cheer. And then the last little thing that I added here was that one of the other new online exclusive items are adhesive back snowflake assortments. And they come in 3 colors. They come in like this copper color, and then it comes in a gold and then a white. So depending on what you wanted to do, and again, I gave them choice. So for like this one, we use the copper. I used the copper on this one. This one, I used the gold. Okay. Your choice on how you want to do it. I think I might do the copper on this one. I used all 3. They have like a little glue dot on them already. So I did one here. I did one here. And then I did one kind of up here. Just like that. So that I had my 3 snowflakes kind of going across my scene. And there is your Christmas card. The last thing we did was we stamped a tree. There's a tree in here, this one. And we stamped our envelopes to kind of match. So whatever color they did. So like some of them had like one of them had a pool party. I think this one had the pool party tree to go with it like that. Okay. This one, I'm not going to stamp it. You know how to do that. This one, you could do an Early Espresso tree. Now, but I have to show you so you can get a little bit of a giggle. Oh, great. I'm so glad you like it. Susie, yes, definitely play with this paper. It's one of my favorites. Okay, once I have to show you. So here's why it's very important to keep your patterns going in the right order. Okay, don't, remember looking at it and seeing how you're cutting it at that 3 1/2, the 3/8, and then having that 2 1/8 left. This is why is it important. So again, I really like that with seeing the little paw prints going across the snow. But when I went and put it together, my paw prints going to go, whoop, oh, sorry, we're down here. So my paw prints did not line up on this card. So lesson learned, make sure you watch your patterns and how you're putting it together, because I did not do that. And my patterns and I obviously had a specific pattern here, but totally did not do it right. So watch your patterns so that your footprints aren't kind of all of a sudden dropping down where they don't make any sense. So just be careful with that. That is it. That was it. Let me kind of go back to me here for a second. Whoops. How about me? There we go. Hi, guy. All right. So I wanted to, if you are starting tomorrow, there is a stamp sale. It's a flash sale tomorrow. It's 15% off the annual catalog stamp sets. So like the horse and sleigh that I just showed you tonight, which is an online exclusive, would not count towards that. It is only, I believe, annual sets that'll get the 15% off. But that is a flash sale tomorrow. There is my host code that is open for July yet. So write that number down if you're going to place an order tomorrow for some of the 15%. But be sure to add this designer series paper to your order, because I cannot guarantee how long that'll stay in stock. It is one of my all-time favorites, so definitely check that out. So there is my host code in case you're missing that. But if you have any questions, please reach out to me. Oh, it's hilarious. Yeah, that right, Jen. I shared that on purpose because it was like, hopefully everybody can enjoy my moment of like, well, that was silly. That did not work out the way I planned it, with the footprints kind of going all over. But that is it, folks. Real quick, I want to try to keep these down to an hour or less than an hour, if at all possible. I just want to jump in on a monthly basis. I promise, hopefully my life will calm down a little bit and I can actually get to a regular schedule. But if not, just, hey, I might just all of a sudden pop up live, and I appreciate your patience with me as I do that. And thank you so much for joining me tonight. It was so nice to have you ladies with me. It definitely makes it easier to have people to talk to when we're doing this. So I'm so glad you were here. Thanks a lot, everybody. If you have any questions, let me know. Good to see you. Have a good night. Thanks. Bye.